Hello, it's Dave here. Welcome to just a season review video. This is the end of season 5. I haven't been following this particular blog. This is of course from CM9798.co.uk and it's out of the box Barnsley. So what the gist of this game was that we started with the sort of the out of the box version. So the standard game we've been playing on the blog for many years is the patched version, which came out in January '98 and fixed quite a few bugs and updated some transfers, that kind of thing. What we decided to do with this blog was go back to the very start, have no patches or anything like that, and just a game that I played as a child, and I'm sure many of you did as well. So I've been playing as Barnsley. It's been quite a successful save, has to be said, as the squad we've got at the end of season 5. We'll go through some of these in more detail shortly. Of course, the big hitters, of course, Bakayoko, Purse, for some reason, Bullock, who was one of the originals, Nevland, Charvet, Svindal, Larsen, so on and so forth. So we'll go through some in a moment, but as you've just hopefully read in the blog, we finally won the league on goal difference from Leeds in an all Yorkshire kind of affair. I don't know, I think I expected it to happen sooner than it did. Trying to win the league, it should be maybe a 3 or 4 season type thing, but as you can see here from the history, actually been really consistent, which is true. With the first season we overperformed. I really didn't expect to finish 5th. I was expecting maybe more of a relegation battle, but from then on in, 78, 75, 78, 75. The biggest difference this season was the lack of goals scored. Now, I am a bit concerned. There's been some feedback from people on Twitter that with the out-of-the-box version, one of the big problems was that the goals just dry up after a certain number of years, and that's kind of one of the things they patched out. You can see we had a drop-off of nearly 20 goals. Part of that, I think, for my team was down to Bakayoko being injured for all but the last 2 months of the season. Had a huge impact. Everyone else performed pretty poorly in terms of. We look at the boy Barrera, wherever he's gone. He's injured, here he is. Obviously, one thing is he's getting on a bit. He's 32, but look at his goals scored. 42 last season alongside Bakayoko. Without his partner in crime, he only managed 18, which is a huge drop-off. So we struggled with that. Just go on goals scored here a minute. There it is. So Eric Nevland came in to replace the injured Bakayoko. He got 23. Not bad. It's better than 1 and 2. I think they may have been stat padded a little bit in some of the cup games, but 3 and 3 in Europe wasn't bad in the end. Bakayoko got 12 in the 2 months he was fit, which 12 and 19 showed how much we missed him. But not huge numbers elsewhere. Signori's getting on now. He's 34. He only managed 9 goals. Again, look, he got 20 assists last season. Only managed 9 this season. He was phased out a little bit. Didn't play as often. Partially because he wasn't performing, but also because he's generally getting on a bit. And I imagine his ability will have decreased as well. So that's a problem. We've got a couple of aging players we're going to have to try and replace. In terms of the averages, Solano here, who of course would never be a centre half given his height, but so good. Heading 18, positioning 18, tackling 19. We got him for 4.9 million. His average rating's been around 8 every season. He chips in with 9 goals as well. I think obviously his heading is pretty good, and his shooting's not bad for a defender, so he gets on the end of quite a lot of set pieces. And of course, he's now worth 8.5 million, so he's doubled his value. Big fan of him. Darren Purse, who's another one who actually had to drop him this season. He was pretty poor for a long time. His average rating dropped off. It has recovered a little bit. He played more towards the end of the season, did quite well. But again, nowhere near as good as he was last season. So there's a few who didn't hit the heights. From the original squad, Dave Watson's still there, 28, England's number 1 now. He's performing miracles at times. Not so good last season, funny enough, but really up on his average rating overall, so that's good. Played exactly 400 games in his career, so well done him. Laurent Charvet, big fan of this fella. Obviously played for Newcastle in real life, but was more of a defender when he played for us. But look, I mean, a lot of the French players have got insane stats, so don't be too wowed by these. But a lot of high ratings there. 7.43, so did well. Playing on the right side of the standard 2-3-1-2-2, he plays just there. And Bullock, of course, the other original in the squad. Teams bid, upwards of 10 million from every season, even though his average rating's been, around this kind of 7.3 mark throughout. He's never really hit the massive heights of season 2 here, where he got 19 goals. He's got 3 England caps, so fair play to him for that. Tommy Svindal, fantastic name in the Champman game. His average rating is actually not that good, but 1 in 5 from midfield, 1 assist all season. It's not great, is it? Let's not go down the road of is he a fraud or is he not, because he has fundamentally just capped me to win the Champions League, so it's still relative, really. Lothar Matthaus is 41, but see, I've used him quite sparingly, but I find he's quite good in the big games. Even though I imagine his ability is shot, but he did a job. I do need to find a good defensive midfielder. Rodrigo, Juhl, has been playing either in that role or in the left wing back role, and he's probably the best I've got. But again, doesn't average particularly well. He's just versatile, which I like. In terms of some of the regions we've got, so that's Ian Rush here, Shaun Bodin, who infuriating. Some games he's unplayable, other games he goes 9 games, 10 games out of goal, so fairly paltry returns for him, so I'm not really sure what to do with him. Got big hopes for Gerard Digby, who is Ian Wright. Off the ball 20, pace 20, shooting 20. He's a dream if we can just get him, up and running. I think I've said before, my absolute best result ever is playing a 4-2-3-1 with Ian Wright as your one. If he can hit those heights, that'll be wonderful. He's just got in the 21 squad, which is good. He's been at Barnet. We've got 1 in 3. That's Peter Schmeichel's regen. Also at Barnet, who aren't a feeder club, but they may as well be. Regen goalkeepers are a nightmare, because if you play them, obviously they're terrible and they concede every shot they face pretty much. So getting them on loan somewhere has taken the best part of 2 seasons. So hopefully he's still got time on his side to get good in time for Watson, declining in a few years. I have watched Steve Simonsen as well, who is the under-21 goalkeeper. Generally, he's well thought of at Tranmere. If you get hold of him, he's only played twice in the first team, but he'll probably will get his chance at some point. Other than that, I don't think I've gone regen crazy this time around. He's been more focused on trying to, win the league, which we've now done. So there's, some work to do. Also, we have got young Lauchlan here, who's of course starts as a 16-year-old, who we've played probably more than I'd expect to play someone his caliber, but hopefully he'll improve. Incidentally, the World Cup hasn't happened yet, but England aren't in it. They didn't qualify. They had a really easy group, I think, from memory. And they managed to, come behind Scotland and Hungary. So I think I'm pretty sure that cost Glenn Hoddler's job. No, it didn't. Right, well, silly Glenn. I said Dave Watson's in the squad, Bullock's in the squad. Darren is a star player, so it's not all great news. Marlon Broomes, now he's just got in. He hasn't played any yet, but I picked him up for 800 grand from Liverpool. Top performer. Well done him. He replaced Darren when he was having his bit of bad form. I've always liked Marlon Broomes in this game. I think, obviously, jokes aside, he should be a sweeper. But, heading 17, pace 15, positioning 19, tackling 18. That's your core positions all sewn up. Steve Slade in the England squad. It's fascinating. And he didn't get sacked. Incredible. The legend is John Curtis. absolute stalwart for Newcastle. Played 60 games last season. I think I've been interested in him since day one. You might remember the first episode of this blog. I tried to get him, but he refused. He went to, I want to say, Leeds. Is that right? It is. Where he did well and got his move to Newcastle. So there you go. So that's what's going on in England. Just a recap of the table here for you. So Leeds were the closest challengers. Ridiculous, Buffon in goal. I don't know who Salvatore Franzone is. Is he a regen? Yes, he is. But whose regen do we think? Is it Pieces 20? That's got to be Pacho, isn't it? Maybe? Not sure. We'll have a look. Elsewhere, they nicked Kevin straight off me. He was one of our stars of the early season. Got him for cheap-ish from Crew. Didn't even perform that brilliantly, but got a move to Leeds. Big club release clause. Doing average there, but there you go. Darren, is he the German striker? Very good. Coming from Spurs, bizarrely. Still got Thomas Brolin, which is remarkable, but will please Ross, so silly Thomas Brolin. Michael Owen's only a sub. They prized him away from Chelsea, I want to say. Yeah, where he obviously was a regular and then sort of wasn't anymore. So he's moved to Leeds to sit on the bench here instead. They've gone very big on the strikers. When you've got three strap players who are strikers, you're obviously paying yourself into a corner, managed by who else? But still George Graham. So silly. They've only got Cannavaro as well, but Cannavaro's not that good on this game. Probably underappreciated. He might be a bit of a late bloomer, I guess you might say. Who would have thought they also went out and got Des Hamilton? That's just bizarre. 300 grand well spent, I would say. In terms of my favourite squad in here at the minute is Wolves, other than my own. And they've got Batistuta, they've got Henrik Larsen, they've got Savicevic, and yet their star player is Murray Shelton. No idea. And not to mention Rob Alflin from a 34-year-old Dutch wingback, is that? I don't know what you'd call that, but yeah. They've also got Darren Huckabee and Michael Brown and Lee Carsley. All the defensive mids and three centre-backs, but they've got lots of these DMCs, including not DMC, but also Darren Caskey. So a totally bizarre squad curated by Joe Royle. Who else? It's fascinating to see how that plays out over time. Man United, as usual, go through their decline where players stop performing. So, Fergie's still in the job, but they've signed Stan Collymore, who's wanted by Shrewsbury, so I can tell you how well that's gone. He played 10 times in 3 years, great stuff. What a time to be Stan Collymore. The squad is just quite average, isn't it? They sold quite a few players. Southgate was the latest one to go. Jaap Stam to Villa. Ronnie Johnson to free transfer. Gone into Milan. Probably should have kept him, lads. Rio Ferdinand, Atletico Madrid. Tells you all about what sort of situation they're in. Financially, 5 million in the bank. Not great. And that'll be their prize money as well, bearing in mind. So they would have been in debt before they got their Premier League prize money. I don't know who Derek O'Connor is, but he's their number one. Starts at Huddersfield. No idea. So that's the Premier League. As you can see, the goal scored, not great. Even us as champions have got less than 1 in 2. Less than 2 in 1. You know what I mean? I'd expect that to be a bit higher, to be honest, and obviously it has been in previous seasons. So everyone else is the same though. We've still got the top goals in the division. Just it's not very good now. The keepers are obviously overpowered in this game, but that's taking the mick a bit. If you look at the Spanish league, Barcelona had no such problems. Everyone else did, but Barcelona didn't. Mind you, they got 101 points and only lost 1 game. So what can you really read into that? They've signed Totti. They've signed Kiko. They've signed Nicholas Alexanderson from, of course, Gothenburg. He starts at Gothenburg, but he's made his way around Europe, so good for him. Still got Pep there, Della Pena. Now he would solve my defensive midfield problems. Let's go for him. While we're here, be nice to get Della Pena. Incidentally, on the patched version, he's an attacking midfielder, but here he's a defensive midfielder, so more great insight like that next week. Let's have a look at the player search. So one thing I will say is that the values in this game before the patch are insane. Like, I've seen more high-valued players than you would do on the patched version, which some of them are unrealistic, it's probably fair to say, but does look a little bit different. Let's just go based anyway and see where the value lies. Trezeguet at 16 million. Denilson still at Sao Paulo, 15 mil. Cheap. Robbie Fowler, 13.5. Henri still at Monaco, 14.75. Monaco have done well, hold on to players. I've got the French league loaded incidentally, which probably helps. Any other weird and wonderful players made their way into this list? This guy here was at Leeds for a bit. He was a tyrant. 24 goals in 54, 4 and 7. Sold to Bilbao for 4 million. See you later. George Graham doesn't mess about, does he? Sibby there, 10.5. Diamond still at Auxerre. He normally moves early doors. Ferdinand Crespo went home. He went to Argentina. I don't know why, but he did for nothing. So he's worth 9.5 mil. Yeah, it's great fun. It hasn't gone totally haywire yet. Players are still mostly where I'd expect them to be, except David Beckham being at Liverpool. That was part of the fire sale when Man United were really struggling for cash. They got 800 grand from, which he'll have paid back in t-shirts by now. So that's that. So elsewhere, let's have a look at the Champions League. So I say we just won this for the first time, breaking the Barcelona stronghold. They won it 3 years in a row. PSG won the first one. The best thing about this season's Champions League is that look at the attendance in the final. Nearly 200,000 people crammed into Lerkendal Stadium in Norway, which is Rosenborg's ground, which I think has a capacity of maybe 30,000 or 29,000. So pretty sure that's a mistake. Silly people. Unless, of course, I'm wrong, and they can house that many people, but it sounds to me like they've put in like an extra 0 on the attendance by mistake, so it's probably the type of thing that got patched out, I would think. But anyway, so yeah, we've seen the Barcelona team. It was very repetitive. They played Real Madrid in the final 3 times. Let's have a look what's happened to PSG. Oh, they've got Marco Negri. And Rise out of contract, is he? He's also 37 going on. Well, I always love Rye on this game. You might remember I had him in the Matthaus save, if you remember that. Leonardo's here. Sporting director in real life. Plays midfield for them now, so good for them. And Didier Domi. Have they had any sort of weird transfers? Not really. Not very exciting. Let's have a look how the French League's getting on. Oh, Marseille won the French League. Monaco, I say they won the French League. There's still a game to go looking at this. Relegation scrap goes the last day. And 2 from 4 will go down. So that's exciting. I guess Montpellier could also go down. Well, there you go. Who've Marseille got them? Who's fired them to glory? Oh, of course, it's Marc Libre. Oh, they've got Uliano from Juventus. He's good. Desai, Eka Davids, Deschamps. Ravanelli still knocking around. 33. Yeah. Good to see their goals for, so kind of similar to the English League. 1 and 2 and 1 is kind of the best you're going to get. So goals are a problem everywhere. I think that's just a symptom of the match engine. But let's have a quick look at who's won the Cup Winners' Cup. And Leeds, so we're playing them in the World Club Cup in Japan. That's nice. And I would feel I should just be playing like Sheffield or something rather than going over to Japan to play that match. But it's a nice day out, if nothing else. Yeah. And then let's have a look at the UEFA Cup, just because we can. Marseille, so they've had a great season. They've won the French League and they've won the UEFA Cup. So good times there. And then finally, let's look at the World Cup. So Italy won against France. In France, of course. And it's about to happen here. The groups, we've got Australia, Italy, Portugal, USA, which is quite tough. Iran, Japan, South Africa, Yugoslavia. Probably avoid Group B. Croatia, Holland, Norway, South Korea. Norway will be strong. They get better and better as the game goes on. They've got Netherlands, they've got obviously Tommy Svindal. Nesset's always good by this point. They've got a lot going for them, so they'll do well, I think. Brazil, Nigeria, Russia, and Trinidad and Tobago. Colombia, France, Saudi Arabia, Scotland, I'm sure. Yeah, Charvet just got in the France squad, which is nice to see. Who's in the Scotland squad? Anyone good? Oops. I'm sure Alan McLaren's at Man United. He is. There's definitely a bias where, like, Fergie is the Scottish manager by Scottish players, because I just can't imagine Alan McLaren was that high up the shopping list. Paul Lambert made it back from Dortmund yet? Oh, yeah, he's gone to Rangers. Well, that'll please the ex-Celtic player. Argentina, Czech Republic, Republic of Ireland, and Mexico. Ireland have got Roy Keane, who plays for Man United still. That's boring. Given Newcastle #1 still. And Keith O'Neill, who always gets that big move early doors, and this time it was to Arsenal. Because, you know, Bergkamp and Ian Wright just aren't enough. Denmark, who are also very strong. The Scandinavian teams always come on well. Bisgaard. Juhl there, they'll do well. And then Belgium, Bolivia, Spain, and Zambia. So there you have it. So we'll report how that gets on next week. But hopefully you've enjoyed this look around the unpatched database, 5 seasons in. Do remember to like and subscribe. It does help us grow the channel. And we're going to try and do more and more of these videos if we can. We're going to get the rest of the squad on to do theirs as and when they get around to doing them. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you around.